Greetings and salutations. I'm Welbot, and it's been quite a while since I made a video, and that's partly from being sick and trying to get well, partly because I've been busy making stuff, crazy things like cuckoo clocks and models, but as you know, I like to make a lot of my stuff these days with Fusion 360, and a couple of weeks ago there was word going around that they were changing their licensing, and there was quite a lot of questions that I saw flying around, and a lot of people a bit worried, as was I. So I reached out to Autodesk support team, and big thanks to them for taking the time to have a chat with me and clarify a few things. So I'm here to share what I know with you, and yeah, stick around, we'll find out. So no doubt if you've used Fusion recently, you've probably been presented with this rather daunting little orange bar at the top of the screen, and basically informs you that they've changed their licensing and subscription offerings, and says update your subscription now. And if you click on that link, it takes you to a page that gives you a brief little rundown of the different licensing types. So you've got your Fusion for professional commercial purposes, and basically if you're already paying for it, then nothing's going to change for you. For personal use, non-commercial, some exceptions apply, and startups for developing new products, qualifications are required, and education, but I'm guessing most of you aren't here for education, because as far as I know, nothing's changed in that area either. What has changed is now you've got personal hobby use and a completely separate startup. And there's been a lot of confusion over which one people should get, what the upsides and downsides to each of them are, but thankfully the wonderful people at Autodesk were able to clarify a lot of the questions that I had. Is the use of commercial file types. So if you want to import SolidWorks files or Rhino 3D or SketchUp files, and sort of translate those into Fusion files, you won't be able to do that. So yeah, if you don't have any use for those kind of functionalities, that's perfectly fine to continue using the personal. The only other functionality that will be missing from the personal version is the ability to share your documents with other people. So if you want to collaborate with somebody, previously you could go into Fusion, and on the right hand side you can open up the bar, and you can share the folder with somebody to do some work with people. You won't be able to do that anymore, but again, if you have never done that and have no plans to do that, there's absolutely no problem. So if you're fine with that and you aren't making more than $1,000 per year off the software, then you qualify for a personal version. If you do want any of those functions, you will have to go for a startup license, and I think a lot of people have been weary of that, because with the previous startup license, it lasted for 12 months, and then after your first 12 months expired, you had to pay a subscription. And there is a 12-month limit on the startup. But what they told me is if you reapply for your startup license, and ideally prior to your 12-month period expiring, and you're still within the requirements for the startup license, they will just continue it on. So as long as you're not, doing anything terrible with it, and you're meeting all of their requirements, or eligibility requirements, then yeah, they'll continue it on for free. So you just need to make sure that you do it, I would say probably a week or two prior to your license running out, because they do take between 2 to 3 days to assess your application and make sure you do meet all the requirements. So yeah, always better to give them a little bit extra time, because it'd be nothing worse than going to use Fusion one day and finding out you can't. So yeah, the requirements for the startup package is you have to be a business with 10 or fewer employees, making less than $100,000 in total per year, and have a willingness to share your story with the Autodesk Fusion 360 community. Not every person who subscribes will be asked to do something. It's just basically saying, if we ask, gives a little hoy hoy. But yeah, if you're like me and you just do some Fusion 360 tutorials every now and then, that could well and truly qualify you as well, because I did ask about that. Told them that I'd done some tutorials in the past, and yeah, she said that was perfectly suitable, and they may watch it and just make sure that you're not mixing it with any nasty content or anything, because you don't want to be portrayed alongside something like that. But yeah, so as long as you meet those requirements, you can apply and get your free startup license. The other thing I should mention, I guess, is the support for the personal version. You will have to, if you need help with it, go through the Fusion 360 forums, whereas if you are on a startup license, you can actually contact Autodesk, and they will help you directly if you require that. But onto the application side of things, this is the form you fill in. Basically, want to fill in your name and address and various business details, and probably the trickiest question for users like myself, I guess, is going to be with the corporation type. And I'm not going to go into all of them, because if you are registered as a corporation, no doubt you'll know what kind of corporation you are. But for people like myself, you'll want to choose the DBA option. And what DBA stands for is doing business as, and that basically means that you are registered as a business, but you can conduct your business under a fictional name, and the legalities behind doing that will probably vary from country to country, maybe even state to state. I claim no knowledge of anywhere outside of where I live, but yeah, basically I'm registered as a sole trader, and it's registered in my name, but I also have business names, and everybody, for 20 odd years or whatever, has known a lot of my 3D work, or known me and my work as done by welbot. So my work is represented under the welbot name. So I would say my name, doing business as welbot. Or you could use your real name. That's entirely up to you. If you're already established and everybody knows you by your real name, then that's perfectly fine as well. But yeah, that's probably one of the other questions I've seen a few people asking. And they basically ask you a couple of questions about how you want to use it, and that's pretty much it. They may contact you if they require a little more information, but yeah, that's pretty much what it comes down to. So it's not quite as daunting as it initially seemed, but the most important thing, which I haven't found mentioned anywhere, is don't jump in there and change your license just yet, because you don't actually have to until your current one expires. And if you're like me and you're on a personal license, you can come up to this little question mark here on the top right of Fusion and go down to About, and as you can see on this line here, it says expires December 6th 2020. So I can continue to use this until December 6th 2020. So like a week or two before that, I'll apply to change my license. So definitely worthwhile checking, because if you're on a personal one and you don't want to go to a startup, but you'd like to continue using some of those functions in the meantime, then don't change quite yet. You can continue right up until that date. Alright, well that pretty much wraps it up. There's a couple more things that I just wanted to clarify with the file types, in particular for the personal version. The actual file types that you will be able to use are your Fusion 360 files, obviously, 123D, Step, IGES, DXF, STL, FBX, and OBJ. So as long as you don't require any other file types, the personal one should be quite sufficient for you. And they also did clarify since that with the team kind of collaboration thing, under the personal one you will have view access to some things. They weren't very specific about whether it was just the ability to view things on the web or within Fusion itself, but that's at least something. But yeah, if you do actually want to do collaborative work, you will need the startup license. And a little bit more promising, or depending on what you do, news is that generative design will also be coming to both personal and startup licenses late October. So if you've seen videos on what that kind of stuff's about, it might have piqued your interest, might not, depends. It's a little more technical than your usual kind of stuff, but yeah, some new exciting things to play with coming in the near future. So good times. Anyway, if you want to see more, give it a like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, check out my Gumroad page, all that kind of jazz. All the links down below. And yeah, till next time, catch you later.